Hi, I'm Zach from Blix, and today we're going to help you assemble your Blix Dubbel. Now that we've got it out of the box, all the packaging off, I recommend putting up the kickstand. So I put one foot down and walk it back. That'll help it stand up easier when you're assembling. So step one is to mount the handlebars. We're going to start with removing the 4 bolts on the stem. So we're going to move our handlebar into the stem, making sure the cables are aligned, and center it into the stem. So these knurling marks will kind of help you dictate where the center wants to be. So when tightening the bolts, you want to make sure good and snug and that there's an even gap between the top and the bottom on all 4 bolts. Once the bars are bolted on, we want to make sure our stem is in line with our fork. That's using the bolt on this side. There's one on the left, one on the right. Just kind of make sure, stare straight down, looks in line, and make sure everything is snug. Now with your handlebars mounted, we'll mount the front fender next. When mounting the front fender, you can use the front light at the same spot. It will share a hole. If you do plan on mounting front accessories, it's recommended to mount it on the handlebar, which we'll cover later. First, we'll remove 3 bolts, one on the right, one on the left, one up at the top. So we're going to mount our front light with the fender since we're not using any front accessories. I recommend getting the bolt on the end of your Allen wrench, put it through the light, and we will mount our fender. Have the light off to the side, kind of helps get things started. Now we'll mount the lower fender struts, these eyelets on the back. Depending on where you mount your front light, there is an extension cable in your parts box if you need it to reach your light. With our fender and light mounted, we'll now need to plug in the front light. There is an arrow on each plug. You want to make sure those are pointing at each other when you plug it in. Before we install our wheel, we're going to remove the little protectors, one on this side, one on this side. Before we install our quick release, we just want to make sure everything is on correctly. There's 2 small springs. We're going to remove this black end and 1 spring. Sometimes removing those plastic packaging on the wheel, a little piece will get stuck inside. If you just stick your quick release in, it'll push it right out. Now that we have the packaging out of the wheel, our quick release ready to go, the side with the lever is going to go on the side without the disc brake. Then on this side, we're going to put our spring skinny side down, and then we will thread on this just a couple threads so it doesn't fall off. Before installing our wheel, we'll remove the wheel spacer, and this orange tab is our brake pad spacer. When you remove this, it's important not to pull the front brake because the pads will get closer together but won't get farther apart, which will make wheel installation very difficult. Okay, now we will install our wheel. Slide it into the frame. I'm going to hold the lever with one hand and tighten the knob with my other hand. It will take a couple turns. While I'm doing that, I'm going to flip my lever, make sure it's tight enough. You want it to be very tight. That one wasn't quite tight enough. There we go. Now our wheel is installed. Installing the quick release is a very crucial step. We do recommend taking it to a bike shop to make sure it is done correctly. Once the front wheel is installed, check and make sure it's not rubbing your fender. If it is, there is a couple adjustment points, one being the front bolt we used earlier, and there is a small bolt on this lower mount. You can loosen and slide this strut in and out on both sides to create some more space. Now we'll install our pedals. There is a left and a right pedal, and they should only go on the left and or the right. There is stamping on the end with an L or an R. If you do have a hard time seeing the L on the left, there are 3 little hash marks you can use as well. We'll use our 15mm Allen wrench. Start with the right. You also want to make sure these are very tight as well. Usually hold one crank with the other arm. Make sure it's nice and snug. Now we're installing the left pedal. Same thing, I'm gonna hold this side. Make sure it's good and tight. If you are using front-mounted accessories like the front rack or front basket, you will need to relocate your light to the handlebar. I'll show you how to do that now. First, we'll need to remove the mount that you used to mount it with the fender. We'll use an Allen wrench. Take out the silver bolt. When installing your light onto the handlebar, you want to use all 3 included rubber spacers to fit the spar, and it will be able to go anywhere you like. You need to pinch it slightly to get the bolt started. That way it's on there nice and tight. With our light mounted on our handlebar, it will not reach, so we will use our extension cable. Make sure the arrows are aligned when plugging in on both ends. When adjusting your saddle height, you want to be comfortable enough to touch your tippy toes on the ground, but then have your legs fully straight when pedaling. I'm pretty tall, so mine's got to come up a good ways. Right about there. Got a good toe on the ground. My leg extends fully when I'm pedaling. Now we'll inflate our tires. On the side of the tire, it does say what PSI you need to pump it up to. The Dubbel does have 30 PSI tires, so we'll pump it up. In the event you need to remove your battery, I'll show you that. Have your key for the rear. Flip it to the unlock position, lift up, and slide it out the side. Now we'll remove the front battery. We'll insert our key, turn it until it has 1 click, and we will rotate this lever either direction, left or right works. Then it will be able to come right out. Now we'll reinstall. It's good to put the bottom in first, then push up. You want to hear 2 clicks. That was the first one. There was the second one. Now that your Dubbel is all assembled, take it to the shop and have it checked over and enjoy your ride. We'll see you next time.